What do you think of whenever you think of the God of the Bible? Kind, loving, merciful? A thoughtful guide on this journey we call life? A healer? A loving father? Do you think of the God of the Bible as a patient, wise, caring, reasonable God? If so, then you are absolutely wrong. The God of the Bible is none of these things, ever. And I'm amazed anyone considered that creature a loving father. It's a rage monster who solves every problem with threats and violence. If you look through the text, you'll find that there are no examples of God resolving conflict or dissent in a sane, reasonable way. Every story follows the same pattern: anger, punishment, and bloodshed. Even the so-called merciful moments come only after he threatens destruction. That is not morality. That is divine terrorism. Believers claim the Bible is the foundation of human morality, but when you actually read the stories, what you see is a God who lashes out like an unstable toddler over and over again. Instead of wisdom, you find slaughter. Instead of patience, you find mass death. This is not a guide for moral living. It is a record of cruelty. Let's look at just some of the evidence, some of the low-hanging fruit, if you will. In Genesis chapter 6, God looks at humanity and decides the solution is global genocide. Instead of teaching or guiding mankind, God drowns men, women, children, and yes, even the innocent animals. There is no record, even in God's own book, of him ever trying to rehabilitate or save the humans of the day. This is the foundation of biblical morality and a recurring theme we'll see again and again throughout the Bible. Genesis chapter 11 tells us that people came together to build the tower. No violence, no harm, just human cooperation. Verse 6 says, "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the people were building. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan will be impossible for them." That sounds great, doesn't it? God is celebrating the cooperation and achievements of his creation. But oh wait, that is not what he means. The very next line says, "Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." God's response to peaceful human ambition was sabotage, scattering people across the earth out of his own jealousy and fear. In Genesis 19, entire cities are wiped out. Verse 24 reads, "Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens." Instead of addressing corruption and injustice, God nukes the entire population, erasing innocent lives in the process. Abraham even tries to talk this rage monster down from killing these people. "If I can find 10 good people in the city, will you spare it?" God says yes. Then they don't even look. The bargaining stops there, and God gets to work destroying the cities. There were not 10 innocent children in this whole city. The book of Exodus shows God playing games with Pharaoh's heart, then punishing the people for it. Exodus 12, verse 29 says, "At midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who is in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well." God kills children, even prisoners' families, and animals, just to prove a point. Pharaoh even wants to give in, but the Lord hardens his heart. God even admits he's not doing it because of Pharaoh, but so the God monster can show the rest of the world for generations what kind of horrors he's capable of. This is not exaggeration or hyperbole on my part. Exodus 10, 1 through 2. "Then the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his officials, so that I may perform these signs of mine among them, that you may tell your children and grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians and how I performed my signs among them, and that you may know that I am the Lord." My signs? The signs of this loving God are plague, starvation, fear, and death? Think about that for a moment. So let me ask you, can you think of a single story in the Bible where God solves a problem with patience, fairness, or calm reasoning without the looming threat of pain or death? Leave it in the comments below, because I couldn't find one. Numbers 21 verse 6 says, "Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit the people, and many Israelites died." What was their crime? Theft? Murder? No, it was complaining about food and water in the desert while on their 40-year journey to the promised land. Instead of providing better food for his people, God sent serpents to slaughter them. This is the God you people worship? I'm sure an apologist will find a way to explain how it was their own fault and they deserved it, but still. In 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 6 and 7, Uzzah reaches out to steady the Ark of the Covenant when the oxen stumble. The text says, the Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark. A man tries to protect a holy box, God's holy box, from falling, and God kills him instantly? Merciful? Loving? Genesis 38 verses 9 and 10 records the story of Onan. But Onan knew that the child would not be his, so whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from providing offspring for his brother. What he did was wicked in the eyes of the Lord, so the Lord put him to death also. God kills Onan for refusing to father a child with his dead brother's wife, as is according to custom. Why couldn't he soften Onan's heart? And isn't that an odd custom for God's chosen people? To sex up your own dead brother's wife? That's weird, isn't it? There was no better solution, no better resolution to that problem that God could find. Really? Well, apparently because it became a blessed custom worthy of killing a man over and writing in a holy book. In Acts chapter 5, Ananias and Sapphira are part of the early Christian community. They sell their own property, but secretly keep some of the money. Verses 5 through 10 say, didn't it belong to you before it was sold? And after it was sold, wasn't the money at your disposal? What made you think of doing such a thing? You have not lied just to human beings, but to God. When Ananias heard this, he fell down and died. At that moment, Sapphira fell down at his feet and died. God strikes them dead on the spot for dishonesty about money. But that's not really it, is it? When you really look through the God haze, what you realize is these people weren't punished for stealing. They weren't punished for taking someone else's money. They were punished with immediate death for not handing over every single coin from their own property sale to the church leaders. That's what makes this particular punishment so grotesque. And that preachers often use these passages to spur people to tithe is just disgusting. Do you see the pattern? Rage, destruction, death, whether it's drowning the planet, burning cities, or killing a man for touching a box. The God of the Bible never resolves conflict with reason or fairness. Even his so-called mercy comes with a knife to the throat. In Jonah chapter 3, Nineveh is spared. True, but only after God threatens total annihilation. That is not mercy. That's a hostage situation. The Bible presents a God who constantly behaves like a violent tyrant, not a moral teacher. Every act of justice is rooted in fear and slaughter. Every act of mercy is framed as a threat. This is the book these people get their morals from, and it explains why for 2,000 years they've been fighting, oppressing, and killing people by the millions. Why? For the Bible tells them so. The Bible is full of these going after a fly with a shotgun moments. A moral guide? Hardly. The notion that this God is anything but hate and violence incarnate is just delusional. True morality requires patience, fairness, and wisdom, qualities the God of Abraham has never displayed. Look at me, a puny human. I have better morals than the God monster from the book of death called the Bible. So when people tell you the Bible is a guide to moral living, remember that the text actually says, it does not reveal a God worthy of worshiping. It exposes a rage monster, and it shows us exactly why human morality must come from reason, not religion. Click over here to check out my latest video, and if you're into the top 10s thing, click here. Sin safely, my friends. Take care.